There once was a time when Anansi didn't have any stories. Yes, Anansi, the trickster god of storytelling, had no stories because no one had stories. They were all kept in a locked box by the sky god Naime. Well, Anansi got sick of all that and decided he would go get those stories. He spun a web up into the sky, swung himself right up onto a cloud, and demanded that box of stories. Naime laughed at the little spider's ambition. Oh, Anansi, you couldn't afford them. Yeah? You tell me the price, big man. I tell you what I can do. And so Naime told him he only wanted 4 things. 4 impossible things. 1, he wanted Onini, the python snake, who could squeeze the breath out of any man. 2, he wanted Osebo, the tiger, who could grab the heart out of any person's chest. And 3, he wanted the hornets of Mambaro, who could poison anyone whom they touched. Oh, and then there was the 4th thing, Moatia, the fairy who had never been seen. So, Anansi wrote all of these things down in his little book, and he went back to work. He found a great big stick, started dragging it through the jungle, and muttering to himself, "Oh, no, she's got to be wrong. He's so big, but that snake is so big too. He's a python after all." And all of this muttering floated up into the branches where Onini heard it. Now Onini, the python snake, got curious, so he slithered down the branches until he was right in front of the spider. "Hello, Anansi. Why are you carrying that big stick?" "Oh, hi, Onini. This sounds a little ridiculous, but okay. So my friend, my wife, my love of my life, my aso, she find this stick in our yard, see, and she said, 'Oh, this stick is so big, it's as big as Onini the python snake.' And I said, 'Oh, aso, no, that's not true. Python snake is so much bigger.' And we got in a big fight. And would you mind measuring yourself against this stick, just so we could settle the argument?" Well, Onini thought this was pretty funny, actually, and so he agreed. He laid down next to the stick. But python snakes are very curvy, and he couldn't get accurate measurements. And so Anansi began to take the stick and push it up against the snake, and then very subtly put a little bit of web around the two of them, just to straighten the stick and the snake out together. And that seemed reasonable to Onini until he discovered he couldn't move. And the next thing he knew, he was being thrown up into the sky and presented to Naime, the sky god, who was very impressed. But he reminded Anansi he still had 3 more things to get. Osebo, the tiger, who could grab the heart out of anyone's chest. The hornets of Mambaro, who poisoned any man they landed on. And Moatia, the fairy who had never been seen. Anansi went back to work. He began to wander in the deep, darkest part of the jungle, and he found a good place to dig a hole. In fact, it became a hole so deep you would call it a pit, 8 feet in fact. Then he covered it with light branches and leaves until you would have no idea it was there at all. The next morning he came back to find the branches and the leaves crashed into the pit and terrible yowling and growling noises coming from within. It was Osebo, who had fallen in to the pit in the middle of the night. Anansi leaned down carefully and asked Osebo if maybe he needed a little help. Of course he did. The tiger was furious. And so Anansi offered to throw him a rope made of web. When he did, he told the tiger to tie it around his waist. And so between the tiger climbing up the pit's walls and Anansi pulling on his rope, they pulled the tiger out. But the next thing the tiger knew, there was more and more and more sticky web around him until he couldn't move. And he was being thrown up into the sky and presented to Naime. The sky god was impressed, but he reminded Anansi that he still had 2 more things to get. The hornets of Momboro, who poisoned any person they touched, and Moatia, the fairy who had never been seen. So Anansi went back to work. He went home and he got his calabash. Now, a calabash is kind of like a water bottle, but it's made of a dried out gourd. And so he took the cork out of the top and he filled it up with water and he put it back on and went into the deep, dark part of the jungle called Momboro. Then he unpopped it, sprinkled it all on himself to make himself very wet, and then he poured the entire calabash of water on top of the poor hornet's nest, and it began to melt before his eyes. Quickly, he began to call out, my brothers, come, hornets, come. I have a dry place for you to be. Come, the calabash is empty. It is raining. Your nest has been destroyed. See how wet I am? It must be raining. Come, I will keep you safe. And the hornets flew into the calabash. As soon as he had the last one, he put the cork back in, spun a web up into the sky, and presented the calabash of hornets to Naime, the sky god, who was quite impressed. But he reminded Anansi that he still had 1 more thing to get, and that was Moatia, the fairy who had never been seen. Now, I ask you, how do you get something or someone who is invisible, someone who has never been seen by anyone? Now, this was going to need a little bit more trickery, maybe something that he had never used before. But something that had been used on him by Mr. Fox not too long ago. He took some gloves, put them on his hands, and he went to a big tree with some sticky sap, almost tar-like. Pulled it out of the tree and began to make a doll. The head, the body, the little legs and arms. And then he attached a string to the back of the head, making it a puppet so he could nod, shake its head. Then he placed this sticky, tarry baby right in front of the Odom tree, which is exactly where fairies hang out at twilight. And then he hid himself behind the tree. Oh, I didn't tell you. In front of the doll, he put some bait. A big bowl of candy. That night, just at twilight, the fairies began to fly past, and of course, Moatia saw that big bowl of candy. She flew down and sniffed at it a bit. And then she saw that little person just in the shadows of the tree. She couldn't see. It was just a puppet doll. Being very polite, she said, "Excuse me, could you please, may I please have a piece of candy?" Well, Anansi pulled the string and the doll nodded. Moatia went through the bowl looking for the biggest piece of candy she could possibly find and ate it so happily. And then she looked at the bowl again. "Excuse me, could I please have another piece of candy?" The doll nodded again. And she ran to the bowl, ransacking it, looking for the second largest piece of candy, and as you can guess, this conversation continued until there was no candy left in the bowl. Now, fairies may not have consciences. They may not exactly know what's right and wrong, but they are very, very concerned with etiquette and rules. So after the candy was gone, she looked at her new friend and said, "Thank you very much for the candy," and gave a little bow. The doll didn't say anything. Moatia stamped her foot. "No! When I say thank you, you're supposed to say you're welcome." The doll didn't say anything. And Moatia lifted her little hand and she hit the doll on the side of the head. No, give it back, no. And she hit the doll again with the other hand. It too stuck in that sticky tar. No, if you didn't want me to have the candy, you should have told me no. And she kicked the doll with both feet. And you can imagine what happened. Now, she was stuck fast with the hands and the feet. And all Anansi had to do was come around and pick her up carefully with his gloves and take her to Naime, the sky god, who now had his 4 things, his 4 impossible things all before breakfast. What could he do but to give Anansi his box of stories? Anansi took that box of stories home to his wife Aso, and then both of them opened them up, and they got out all of the tall tales, all of your grandmother's old stories, all of those stories you would tell your teacher when you couldn't finish your homework, every single bit of myth and fable, everything. And now it's our turn. Don't keep those stories locked up inside. Let them free. Let them come out. So, my question to you is, do you have a story to tell? Because I think you do.